Ethan Ward raised his champagne glass to toast his perfect future, until the kitchen doors opened and his past walked in holding hands with two boys who had his exact face. In that frozen moment, surrounded by 200 wedding guests, his carefully constructed life shattered like dropped crystal. The woman he'd abandoned 5 years ago had built an empire of strength while raising his sons alone, and now she was about to teach him that some mistakes don't get buried. They grow up and look you straight in the eye. His fiancée would demand a choice. His mother would wage war. And Janelle, she'd give him one chance to prove he wasn't the coward who ran before. But second chances come with a price, and this one would cost him everything he thought he wanted to gain everything he actually needed. Subscribe and comment below if you believe people can truly change, because what happens next will make you question everything you thought you knew about love, redemption, and showing up when it matters most. The afternoon sun painted the countryside estate in honey tones. White tents billowed against green lawns. Laughter drifted from clusters of guests in summer dresses and linen suits. Everything looked perfect. Everything felt right. Ethan Ward stood at the head table, champagne flute raised. His fiancée Clara sat beside him, her smile bright as a camera flash. Around them, 200 guests quieted, waiting for his toast. "To new beginnings," Ethan said, his voice carrying across the rehearsal dinner. "To leaving the past behind and stepping into the future together." Crystal glasses chimed. Applause rippled through the crowd. Then the kitchen doors swung open. A woman walked out carrying a silver tray. She wore a crisp white chef's coat, her dark skin glowing against the fabric. Her hair was pulled back in a neat bun. She moved with quiet confidence, her eyes focused on the task ahead. Behind her, 2 small boys followed. They couldn't have been more than 4 years old. Each carried a smaller tray, with careful, concentrated steps. Their blonde curls caught the light. Their blue eyes were wide with the importance of their job. The room fell silent. Not the good kind of silence, the kind that pressed against your chest, because those boys looked exactly like Ethan Ward. The champagne glass trembled in Ethan's hand. His prepared words vanished. His throat closed. He couldn't look away from the children, from their small faces, their careful movements, the way one of them bit his lip, just like Ethan did when he concentrated. The woman, Janelle, kept her eyes down. She set the tray on the buffet table with practiced ease. The boys followed her lead, their little hands steady despite the weight. But guests were already whispering. Heads turned. Someone's phone came up for a photo. Clara's hand found Ethan's arm. Her nails dug in through his jacket. "Who is that?" she whispered. Ethan couldn't answer, couldn't breathe. One of the twins looked up then. His blue eyes found Ethan across the room. The boy stared with open curiosity, his head tilted like he was solving a puzzle. Janelle noticed. Her hand flew to the child's shoulder, gentle but firm. She guided both boys back toward the kitchen, her movements quick now, urgent. But it was too late. The resemblance was impossible to miss, impossible to explain away. Ethan's champagne glass slipped. It didn't fall, he caught it just in time, but champagne sloshed over his hand, cold and sticky. "Ethan," Clara's voice cut through the fog. "Answer me, who are they?" Around them, conversations started up again, too loud, too bright. People were trying not to stare while absolutely staring. "I need—" Ethan's voice cracked. "Excuse me, I need to thank the staff." He stood. His legs felt disconnected from his body. Clara said something sharp, but he was already moving, weaving between tables, following the path Janelle had taken. The service hallway was dim and cool after the bright tent. The sounds of the party faded behind heavy doors. Ethan's footsteps echoed on tile. He found her near the kitchen entrance. She stood with her back to him, hands pressed flat against the wall, like she needed it to hold her up. "Janelle." She went rigid. For a long moment she didn't turn. "We have a dinner to finish," she said finally. Her voice was steady, professional, nothing like the warm, laughing voice he remembered from 5 years ago. "Janelle, please. The main course needs plating. The brioche needs checking. I have work to do, Mr. Ward." Mr. Ward, like they were strangers, like they hadn't spent a summer tangled in each other, dreaming about the future, promising forever. "Are those—" He couldn't finish the question. It felt too big, too impossible. She turned then. Her eyes met his, and the impact nearly knocked him back. Brown eyes that used to look at him with so much trust. Now they were guarded, careful. "Go back to your rehearsal dinner," she said quietly. "Your guests are waiting. I'm not leaving until you—" "Yes, you are." Her chin lifted. "Because I asked you to. and because making a scene helps no one, especially not those two little boys who are about to serve your dessert. The kitchen doors swung open. Another server emerged with a tray of salads. Music and laughter spilled out, then cut off again. Ethan stood alone in the hallway, his heart hammered against his ribs. Somewhere in the kitchen, dishes clattered. Someone called out an order. Normal sounds. A normal evening for everyone but him. He pressed his palm against the wall where hers had been. The tile was still warm. Back in the tent, Ethan couldn't taste his food. Clara kept glancing at him with sharp, assessing looks. Her maid of honor leaned over and whispered something that made Clara's jaw tighten. The guests had moved on mostly. A few still cast curious glances his way. Someone at table 6 was definitely Googling on their phone. Then dessert arrived. Chocolate souffle. Individual portions in white ramekins dusted with powdered sugar and garnished with fresh raspberries. Ethan's spoon froze halfway to his mouth. This souffle, he knew this recipe. Had helped develop it, actually, on a warm June night in Janelle's tiny apartment kitchen. They'd burned the first 3 batches, laughed until they couldn't breathe, finally got it right at 2 in the morning and eaten it straight from the pan, feeding each other bites while the city slept outside. Some flavors never stop selling, she'd told him when he asked why she still made it. His chest ached. Around him, guests praised the dessert. Perfect texture, complex flavor. Clara took a delicate bite and hummed approval. Ethan pushed his ramekin away. Through the tent's clear panel, he could see into the kitchen. Janelle moved between stations, checking plates, adjusting garnishes. She never looked up, never acknowledged the dining room at all. But once, just once, her hand stilled on a counter. Her shoulders rose with a deep breath. Then she was moving again. All business, all control. "You're not eating," Clara's voice cut through his thoughts. "Not hungry. It's delicious. You should at least try it." He couldn't put that taste in his mouth, that memory on his tongue. One of the twins appeared in the kitchen doorway. The taller one, or maybe they were the same height. Ethan couldn't tell from here. The boy was pointing at something, talking to Janelle with animated gestures. She bent down to his level, said something that made him giggle, ruffled his blonde curls. Ethan's throat closed. "Excuse me," he managed. He stood, nearly knocking his chair over. "I need some air." Outside, the evening had cooled. String lights glowed between trees. The sun was setting, painting everything in shades of orange and gold. Ethan walked to the edge of the property where the lawn met the woods. He gripped the white fence rail until his knuckles ached. Those boys. His mind kept circling back, trying to make the math work. 5 years since he'd left Janelle. She'd understood, she'd said. His career was taking off. The firm in Boston needed him. Long distance wouldn't work. They were young. They'd find other people. He'd believed her. Believed her easy smile when they said goodbye. Believed it when her texts became shorter, then stopped altogether. Believed she'd moved on, just like he had. Except he hadn't moved on. Not really. He'd just gotten better at pretending. And now those boys, 4 years old probably, maybe just turned 5. The timeline fit perfectly. A door opened behind him. Footsteps on gravel. "There you are?" Clara's heels clicked as she approached. "You've been acting strange all evening. What's going on?" "Nothing." "Don't lie to me, Ethan, not 2 days before our wedding." She came around to face him, her beautiful features tight with frustration. "Who is she?" "An old friend." "An old friend whose children look exactly like you?" So she'd noticed too. Of course she had. Everyone had noticed. "Clara, my maid of honor is already asking questions. Half the guests are whispering, this is supposed to be our celebration, and instead..." She broke off, her breath coming fast. "Tell me the truth right now." Ethan looked at his fiancée. They'd been together 18 months, a good partnership. Compatible goals, similar backgrounds. His mother approved, her father approved. On paper, they made perfect sense. But he'd never told her about Janelle. Never mentioned that summer 5 years ago when he'd been completely, stupidly in love. When he'd almost given up Boston for a woman who made chocolate souffle at 2 in the morning. "I knew her before," he said finally. "We dated briefly. I didn't know she'd be the caterer." "Briefly." Clara's laugh was sharp. "Those children, I don't know." The words came out harder than he meant. "I haven't seen her in 5 years. But you think..." "I don't know what to think." Silence fell between them. In the distance, the party continued. Someone had started the music. A saxophone played something slow and sweet. "I'm going to talk to her tomorrow," Ethan said, "after the rehearsal breakfast. I need to know. And if they're yours." He looked at Clara then, really looked. She was beautiful, successful, everything he'd thought he wanted, but she wasn't Janelle. I don't know, he said honestly. Clara's face went very still. For a moment, he thought she might cry, but she didn't. She straightened her shoulders, smoothed her dress, lifted her chin. Fine, she said. You have until tomorrow night. Figure out whatever this is, because I'm not marrying a man who has questions about another woman's children. She turned on her heel, paused. And Ethan? If those boys are yours, our wedding is off. She walked away, her heels sharp against the gravel. Ethan turned back to the fence. The sun had set completely now. Stars were beginning to appear. Somewhere in the kitchen, Janelle was probably finishing service, packing up equipment, getting those two little boys ready to go home. His boys. Maybe. Probably. The thought terrified him. Morning came too bright and too early. Ethan barely slept. He'd lain awake in the estate's guest cottage, staring at the ceiling, running through every conversation he'd ever had with Janelle. Had she tried to tell him? Had there been signs? He remembered a text she'd sent about 3 months after he left. Simple. Can we talk? Call me when you have time. He'd been in a meeting, then another meeting, then dinner with clients. By the time he remembered to call back, it was too late, and somehow he'd never tried again. What if? He pushed the thought away, got dressed, made himself presentable. The rehearsal breakfast was happening in the main house, but Ethan bypassed it entirely. Let Clara explain his absence however she wanted. He had more important things to do. The catering van was parked by the service entrance. Janelle stood beside it, checking boxes against a clipboard. She wore jeans today, and a black t-shirt with her catering company's logo. Her hair was down, falling in soft waves around her shoulders. She looked up as he approached. Her expression didn't change. Mr. Ward, polite, professional, distant. Can we talk? I'm working. Please. She glanced toward the van. Through the window he could see the twins in car seats, playing with action figures. 5 minutes, she said. Then I have another event. They walked a little way from the van, out of earshot, but still where she could see her sons. The soufflé last night, Ethan started. Did you like it? Several guests asked for the recipe. You know I did. You know I... He stopped, started over. That was our recipe, Janelle. It's a good recipe. People pay well for it. That's not what I mean. She looked at him fully then. Her eyes were tired, not just from one late night, from years of something. What do you want me to say, Ethan? Yes, I still make the soufflé. I make a lot of things we created together. They sell, they keep my business running, they help me provide for... She stopped, looked away. For them. His voice came out rough. Those boys. Janelle, I need you to tell me. Tell you what? Are they mine? The question hung in the air between them. A bird called somewhere in the trees. The morning sun felt too warm on Ethan's face. Janelle's jaw tightened. You left. I know, but... You left and I called and you were busy. Always busy. Too busy to call back. Too busy to visit. Too busy to answer texts. So I stopped trying. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. Her voice stayed quiet, but something fierce burned underneath. You wanted Boston, and your career, and your new life. That was fine, that was your choice, but don't stand here now and act like you would have done anything different if I'd told you. The words hit like fists. That's not fair. Fair. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want to talk about fair? Okay. Was it fair that I threw up every morning for 4 months while building my business? Was it fair that I went to every ultrasound alone? That I held both of their hands during delivery because there was no one else? Janelle, was it fair, she continued, her voice breaking now, that they asked me last month where their daddy was, and I had to explain that some people just aren't ready to be parents? Ethan felt like she'd punched all the air from his lungs. She wiped her eyes quickly, angry at the tears. You want to know if they're yours? Come by tomorrow morning, you'll see for yourself. But Ethan? She looked at him with something like pity. Seeing isn't the same as being there. Remember that. She walked back to the van, climbed in, started the engine. Through the window, one of the twins waved at him. Just a simple, friendly wave like kids give to strangers. Ethan lifted his hand, waved back. The van pulled away, leaving him standing in the parking area with dust settling around his shoes and his heart somewhere in his throat. That night, Ethan sat in his cottage with his phone in his hands. Clara had texted 3 times. His best man had called twice. His mother had left a voicemail wondering where he was. He ignored them all. Instead, he found himself scrolling through old photos. There weren't many of Janelle. She'd never liked having her picture taken. But he found a few. Her laughing at something outside the frame, her concentrating on a recipe, her asleep on his couch with a cookbook on her chest. He'd loved her, completely, terrifyingly. And he'd left anyway, because Boston was a better opportunity, because his mentor said it would be stupid to pass up, because he was 27 and scared and convinced he had plenty of time for love later. Except, later never came. He'd dated nice women, smart women. Eventually he'd met Clara, who checked all the right boxes. Similar ambitions, compatible lifestyles, easy. Nothing like the wild, consuming love he'd felt for Janelle. But that was good, he'd told himself. That kind of love was exhausting. This was better, sustainable. Except now, sitting alone in the dark, he couldn't remember why he'd convinced himself of that lie. His phone buzzed. A text from Clara. "Where are you? People are asking." He typed back, "Taking care of something. Be back tomorrow." The reply came fast. "You better be." Ethan set the phone down, lay back on the bed, stared at the ceiling again. Tomorrow, he'd see them. The boys. His sons. The reality was starting to sink in now, past the shock, past the fear, down to something deeper. He had children, twin boys who looked like him, who were growing up without him, who waved at him like he was a stranger, because he was a stranger. Janelle's words echoed, "Seeing isn't the same as being there." So she was right, of course she was right. But maybe it wasn't too late. Maybe he could still fix this. Be there. Be the father those boys deserved. If Janelle would let him, if he could prove he wasn't the same man who left 5 years ago, if he could be brave enough to choose love over ease this time. Outside the night was quiet except for crickets and the distant sound of the party winding down. Tomorrow was supposed to be his wedding day, but suddenly that felt like it belonged to a different version of Ethan, one who didn't know he had sons, who hadn't seen Janelle's tired eyes or heard the break in her voice. That Ethan was gone. This Ethan, the real one maybe, had different priorities now. He closed his eyes. Tomorrow would change everything. He could feel it coming like a storm on the horizon. But for the first time in years, he wasn't running from it. He was ready. Janelle's catering shop sat on a quiet street downtown, wedged between a bookstore and a vintage clothing boutique. The sign above the door read, "Brooks Catering and Fine Foods," in elegant script. Through the windows, you could see the small dining counter, where she tested recipes and served lunch to regular customers. Ethan stood outside for a full minute before he could make himself open the door. A bell chimed as he entered. The space smelled like fresh bread and herbs. Jazz played softly from a speaker somewhere. The front area was cozy, just 6 small tables with mismatched chairs and artwork from local painters on the walls. Behind the counter, an older black woman looked up from rolling dough. She wore an apron dusted with flour and an expression that said she knew exactly who he was. "Help you?" Her tone suggested she hoped the answer was no. "I'm looking for Janelle. She expecting you?" "Yes." The woman studied him for a long moment. Then she wiped her hands on her apron and called toward the back. "Nell, you got company." Footsteps. Then Janelle appeared through the kitchen doorway. She'd pulled her hair back again. No makeup. Tired eyes, but steady posture. "Ethan," she nodded toward a table in the corner. "Sit. I'll be right there." He sat. The older woman kept working, but her gaze flicked toward him every few seconds. Protective, wary. Janelle brought 2 mugs of coffee, set one in front of him without asking if he wanted it, sat down across from him with her own. "That's my Aunt Marva," she said quietly. "She helped me through everything, so she's not your biggest fan right now." "I don't blame her." Janelle wrapped both hands around her mug. "The boys are in the back room, they're coloring. I told them we might have a visitor." "What did you tell them about me?" "Nothing yet." She met his eyes. "I wanted to see if you'd actually show up first." The words stung, but he deserved them. "I'm here, for now." "Janelle, let me say something first." She leaned forward slightly. "If you're here because you feel guilty, turn around and leave. If you're here because you think it's the right thing to do, leave. If you're here because your wedding's falling apart and you need a distraction, definitely leave." "I'm here because they're my sons," Ethan said, "and because I should have been here 5 years ago." She searched his face. "Looking for lies, probably. For excuses." "They're good boys," she said finally. "Sweet. Curious. Mason, he's the one who waved at you. He loves dinosaurs and wants to be a paleontologist. Miles is quieter. He likes drawing and building things. They're happy, Ethan. I've made sure they're happy. I can see that. But they ask about their father, and I've run out of ways to explain why he's not here." Her voice caught. She cleared her throat. "So if you're going to be in their lives, you need to understand something. They're not a project you can start and quit when it gets hard. They're not something you can try out and decide you don't want." "I know." "Do you?" She shook her head. "Because 5 years ago you decided our relationship wasn't worth the inconvenience. What happens when being a father gets inconvenient?" The question hung heavy between them. From the kitchen, Aunt Marva had stopped pretending not to listen. "I can't change what I did," Ethan said slowly. "I can't go back and make different choices. But I'm here now, Janelle, and I'm asking for a chance to prove I can do better." She was quiet for a long time. Outside, people walked past the window. Normal people having normal Saturday mornings. No life-changing conversations, no past mistakes demanding answers. "1 hour," Janelle said finally. "You can spend 1 hour with them today. We're making cookies for an order tomorrow. You can help." "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," she stood. "And Ethan, they're introducing you as a family friend, that's all. If you earn more than that, we'll talk. Understand?" He nodded. She walked toward the back room. Ethan could hear her talking softly, then children's voices responding with excitement. When they emerged, Ethan's heart stopped. The twins were identical. Same blonde curls, same blue eyes, same small faces that were absolutely unmistakably his. They wore matching superhero t-shirts, one Batman, one Spider-Man, and light-up sneakers that blinked with each step. "Boys, this is Mr. Ethan," Janelle said. "He's going to help us bake today. Can you say hello?" "Hello!" Mason, the Batman shirt, ran forward with no hesitation. "Do you like dinosaurs? I like dinosaurs. My favorite is the T-Rex, but Miles says velociraptors are better, but I think—" "Mason, breathe," Janelle said gently. Miles hung back, peeking out from behind his mother. When Ethan smiled at him, he ducked his head shyly. "Hi, Mason," Ethan managed. His voice sounded strange to his own ears. "Hi, Miles. It's really nice to meet you both. Are you good at baking?" Mason asked. "Not very," Ethan admitted. "I'm better at burning things," Mason giggled. Even Miles smiled a little. "Well, come on then." Mason grabbed Ethan's hand without warning. "Mom's the best baker ever. She'll teach you, but you have to wash your hands first. That's the rule." And just like that, Ethan found himself being dragged toward the kitchen by a 4-year-old who had his eyes and his smile and absolutely no idea they were related. The next hour passed in a blur of flour and sugar and questions. Mason talked constantly about dinosaurs, his preschool teacher, the weird bug he found yesterday, how chocolate chips were better than raisins in cookies. Miles stayed quiet but watched everything, especially Ethan, his small face serious and considering. Janelle showed Ethan how to cream butter and sugar properly. He'd done it before years ago with her, but his hands felt clumsy now, uncertain. "You're pressing too hard," she said, her hand covering his to guide the wooden spoon. "Let the spoon do the work." Her touch sent electricity up his arm. She pulled away quickly like she'd felt it too. "I'm not good at this," Ethan said. "You're doing fine." "No, I mean—" He looked at the boys, who were shaping dough into lumpy circles. "All of it. I don't know how to talk to them, what to say, what they need." Janelle paused in measuring vanilla. "They need you to show up. That's it. They don't need perfect. They just need present. Can I ask you something? When did you find out about them?" She set the measuring spoon down carefully. 3 weeks after you left. I took the test 5 times because I couldn't believe it. Then I called you. I remember that call." Shame burned in his chest. "I was in a meeting." "You were always in a meeting." No accusation in her tone, just fact. "After a while I stopped trying, figured you'd made your choice and I needed to respect it." "I'm sorry." "I know." She added the vanilla to the bowl. "But sorry doesn't change 4 years of bedtimes and doctor's appointments and first words and first steps. Sorry doesn't fill the space where you should have been." Mason appeared at Ethan's elbow. "Mr. Ethan, look! I made a dinosaur cookie." The dough was indeed shaped vaguely like a long-necked creature, or maybe a snake. Hard to tell. "That's amazing," Ethan said honestly. "Will you help me make a T-Rex?" They spent the next 20 minutes creating a cookie dinosaur that looked more like a blob with legs. But Mason was thrilled, and Miles eventually crept closer, asking quietly if Ethan could help him make a robot. By the time the cookies went in the oven, Ethan's shirt was dusted with flour, and his heart felt like it might crack open. These were his sons, his boys, and he'd missed so much already. "Mum, can Mr. Ethan stay for lunch?" Mason asked as they cleaned up. Janelle hesitated. "Please," Miles added, his first real words to Ethan all morning. "I don't want to impose." Ethan said quickly. But Janelle was looking at her sons, seeing their hopeful faces. Just lunch, she said. Then Mr. Ethan has to go. They ate grilled cheese and tomato soup at one of the small tables. Simple food, easy conversation. Mason told a long, complicated story about his friend Lucas's pet hamster. Miles drew on a napkin with crayons. Ethan felt something shift inside him, something fundamental, like a door opening that he hadn't known was closed. This was what he'd been missing. Not just children in the abstract, but these specific children, this life. This woman across the table who'd built something beautiful without him. You okay? Janelle asked quietly, while the boys compared their cookie creations. Yeah, he smiled, and it felt real. Yeah, I really am. But when lunch ended, and the boys went back to coloring, reality crashed back. I need to go, Ethan said. The wedding. Clara's probably right. Janelle's expression shuttered. Your wedding. It's complicated. It always is with you. That hurt, but he couldn't argue. Can I come back? Tomorrow. She was quiet for so long he thought she'd say no. Monday, she said finally. I have a delivery Monday afternoon. You can help if you want. I'll be here. Will you? She crossed her arms. Because Monday, you'll be married, Ethan. You'll be on your honeymoon or whatever. You won't have time for... The wedding's off, he said. Silence dropped like a stone. What? I told Clara last night. Well, she told me, actually. If those boys were mine, she wouldn't marry me. Turns out that was an easy decision. Janelle stared at him. You called off your wedding? For them? For you? He ran a hand through his hair. I don't expect anything from you, Janelle. I know I don't deserve anything, but those are my sons and I'm not walking away again. Whatever it takes, however long it takes, I'm going to be here. Before she could respond, Mason ran over. Mr. Ethan, will you read us a story sometime? Mom reads the best stories, but she does funny voices and everything. Ethan looked down at the small boy with his big blue eyes and hopeful expression. I'd love to, he said. His voice came out rough. If your mom says it's okay. Mason looked at Janelle with his hands pressed together like he was praying. Please, Mom, please. She looked between her son and Ethan. Some war played out behind her eyes. We'll see, she said, which wasn't no. Mason whooped and ran to tell Miles. Janelle walked Ethan to the door. Outside, the afternoon stretched bright and warm. People passed by with shopping bags and coffee cups. The world kept turning. Thank you, Ethan said, for letting me meet them, for giving me a chance. I'm not doing it for you, she said quietly. I'm doing it for them. They deserve to know their father, even if... She stopped, started over. Just don't make me regret this, Ethan. Don't make them pay for your mistakes. I won't. I promise. She almost smiled. Promises are easy. Keeping them is hard. Then I guess you'll have to watch me keep this one. He walked to his car, feeling lighter than he had in years. Despite everything, the cancelled wedding, the chaos he'd just caused, the impossibly hard conversations still ahead, he felt right. For the first time in 5 years, he felt like himself again. But Clara wasn't going to make anything easy. Ethan's phone started ringing before he'd even left Janelle's street. Clara, his mother, his best man, the wedding planner, everyone wanting answers. He drove back to the estate in a daze. The countryside looked different now, brighter somehow, more real. The rehearsal had been this morning. He'd missed it entirely. Tonight was supposed to be a small dinner with family. Tomorrow, the wedding. Except there wasn't going to be a wedding. He found Clara in the main house, surrounded by bridesmaids and family members. Her face was perfectly made up, her dress immaculate, but her eyes were red-rimmed. There you are. Her voice could have cut glass. Everyone, could you give us a moment? The room cleared quickly. People escaped to the garden, the hallway, anywhere else. When they were alone, Clara turned on him. You missed the rehearsal. I know. I'm sorry. Sorry. She laughed, brittle and sharp. You missed our wedding rehearsal because you were with her. With them. Clara? Don't. She held up a hand. I saw you, Ethan. Someone sent me a photo. You in her shop, covered in flour, smiling at those children like... Her voice broke. Like I've never seen you smile at anything. Guilt twisted in his stomach. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. But it did happen. And now what? You want to call off our wedding 2 days before? Humiliate me in front of 200 guests? Waste hundreds of thousands of dollars because you found out you have a ready-made family with your ex? It's not like that. Then what is it like? She stepped closer. Explain it to me, Ethan. Make me understand how you could propose to me, plan a whole life with me, and then throw it all away the second your past shows up. He couldn't explain it. Not in a way that wouldn't hurt her more. "I'm sorry," he said again. "You deserve better than this, better than me. Don't you dare!" Tears spilled down her cheeks now. "Don't you dare make this about what I deserve. This is about you being a coward. This is about you running away from commitment the second it gets complicated. That's not, isn't it?" She grabbed her purse from the side table. "You ran from her 5 years ago. Now you're running from me. What happens when you get bored of playing father? When those cute little boys become difficult teenagers? Will you run then too?" The words hit home. Ethan felt them land, sharp and true. "I don't know," he said honestly. "I don't know what kind of father I'll be, but I know I have to try." Clara wiped her eyes, smearing her makeup. For a moment she looked vulnerable, lost. "I loved you," she said quietly. "I really did. I know. But not enough." She straightened her shoulders, drew herself up. "Fine, go. Be with your instant family, but don't come crawling back when you realize you've made a mistake." She walked to the door, paused with her hand on the frame. "I'm keeping the ring," she said, "and I'm sending you the bill for the wedding cancellation. You broke this, you can pay for it." Then she was gone, heels clicking down the hallway. Ethan stood alone in the empty room. Through the window he could see the tent being disassembled, white chairs being stacked, flower arrangements being packed away, a wedding undone. His phone buzzed. His mother, "Call me immediately." That conversation would be even worse. But as he walked outside into the cooling evening, watching workers take down his future piece by piece, he didn't feel the panic he expected. He felt free. Monday morning came cold and grey. Ethan showed up at Janelle's shop at 7 sharp. She was already loading the van, boxes of prepared meals stacked in careful rows. "You're early," she said. "Didn't want to be late." She studied him. "How was the wedding?" "There wasn't one." "I heard." She hefted another box. "It's a small town. People talk." "I bet they do. They're calling you the runaway groom. Some people are saying I'm a home wrecker. Mrs. Patterson from the church actually crossed the street yesterday so she wouldn't have to walk past my shop." Guilt stabbed through him. "Janelle, I'm so sorry. I never wanted—" "It's fine." She cut him off. "I've dealt with worse. At least this time I have you here to share the blame." Was that a joke? He couldn't tell. "Where are we delivering?" he asked. 3 stops. Law office downtown wants lunch for 20. The Hendersons are having a dinner party, and old Mr. Chen gets his weekly meal prep. Let me help load." They worked in silence, fitting boxes into the van like a puzzle. The twins weren't with them. "At preschool," Janelle explained. "Monday through Friday, 9 to 3. "How much does that cost?" Ethan asked. "Preschool, I mean. $800 a month. For one? Each." He did the math. $1,600 a month, plus food, clothes, medical care, housing, everything else, all on her shoulders. "I want to help," he said, "financially, for everything I've missed. We'll talk about that later." She closed the van doors. "Right now I need to know if you can carry a hot tray without dropping it." The day was a revelation. Ethan had never thought much about what caterers did. Now he saw it was part logistics, part customer service, part heavy lifting and part improvisation when things went wrong. At the law office, the elevator was broken. They carried everything up 4 flights of stairs. At the Hendersons, the kitchen was too small to lay everything out properly. Janelle reorganized on the fly, making it work through sheer determination. Mr. Chen's apartment was on the 3rd floor of a walk-up. He was 92 and lived alone, except for a fat orange cat. Janelle spent 20 minutes chatting with him, making sure he understood how to reheat each meal, checking that he'd taken his medications. "You do this every week?" Ethan asked as they walked back to the van. "He doesn't have family nearby. Someone needs to check on him." "That's not part of catering. It's part of being human." She climbed into the driver's seat. "You coming or not?" Between deliveries they talked, carefully at first, then more easily. She told him about starting the business 3 years ago, how Aunt Marva had helped with childcare while Janelle built her client base, how hard it was to be taken seriously as a young female chef, especially a black woman in a predominantly white town. "People assume I only cook soul food," she said, "which is fine. I make amazing soul food, but I can also do French cuisine, Italian, fusion, whatever." Took years before clients stopped being surprised by my range. "I remember your cassoulet," Ethan said. "Better than anything in Boston." She shot him a look. "You went to Boston for the food scene, among other things. How'd that work out?" "The food was good. Everything else was—" He paused. "Empty." They pulled up to the shop as afternoon shadows grew long. The boys will be home soon, Janelle said. Aunt Marva picks them up from preschool. Can I stay? The words came out before he could stop them. Just for a little while. I don't know, help with dinner or something. She turned off the engine, sat very still. You don't have to do this, she said quietly. You don't have to force yourself to play house because you feel guilty. That's not what this is. Then what is it? He looked at her, really looked, at the tired lines around her eyes, the strength in her jaw, the way she held herself like she was ready for disappointment, but hoping anyway. It's me trying to be the person I should have been 5 years ago, he said. It's me wanting to know my sons, and it's me. He stopped, started over. It's me still caring about you, Janelle, even after everything. She closed her eyes. Don't what? Don't say things like that. Don't make this about us. It's about them. Only them. Okay. He unbuckled his seatbelt. Then let me stay for them. She opened her eyes, looked at him for a long moment. Fine, she said. But you're doing the dishes. Inside they unloaded the van in comfortable silence. Ethan was starting to learn her rhythm, where she liked things placed, how she organized her workspace. The bell over the door chimed. Small voices shouted, "Mom!" The twins burst in like a storm, backpacks bouncing, talking over each other about their day. Behind them, Aunt Marva entered more slowly, her sharp eyes finding Ethan immediately. "Mr. Ethan!" Mason ran over. "How you came back?" Miles hung back but smiled. "Hi. Hi, guys." Ethan's chest felt tight. "How was school?" "We painted," Mason said. "I painted a T-Rex eating a truck. Miles painted a rainbow. Miss Sarah said mine was very creative, but I think she meant messy." "I want to show Mr. Ethan my rainbow," Miles said quietly. "Later, baby," Janelle said. "Go wash up first and hang your backpacks properly." The boys thundered toward the back room. Aunt Marva approached Ethan with the expression of someone sizing up a potential threat. "So you're sticking around," she said. "Yes, Mom." "For how long?" "As long as Janelle will let me." She looked him up and down. "Words are easy. My niece and those boys deserve more than easy." "I know. Do you?" She stepped closer. "Because I watched her cry every night for 6 months after you left. Watched her work herself sick building this business while pregnant. Held her hand during labor when there should have been a father there. So forgive me if I'm not impressed by you showing up now." "Aunt Marva," Janelle said quietly. "No, she's right." Ethan met the older woman's eyes. "I can't change what I did, but I'm here now and I'm not leaving. We'll see." Aunt Marva moved past him toward the kitchen. "I'll start dinner. Janelle, you coming to help, or are you playing host?" "I'll help." Janelle glanced at Ethan. "You can hang out with the boys. Keep them out of trouble." She disappeared into the kitchen, leaving Ethan alone in the front room. From the back, he could hear the twins arguing about something. He walked back, found them in a small room set up as a play area. Toys organized in bins, a small table with art supplies, 2 beanbag chairs. "Mr. Ethan!" Mason grabbed his hand again. "Come see my painting." The rainbow Miles had painted was actually beautiful, careful strokes, bright colors that didn't bleed together. "This is really good," Ethan said. Miles beamed. "Can you build blocks with us?" Mason asked. "We're making a dinosaur museum, but it keeps falling down." They spent the next hour on the floor, building and rebuilding. Mason provided creative direction. Miles executed the actual construction. Ethan mostly handed them blocks and tried not to accidentally knock things over. It was perfect. At some point, Janelle appeared in the doorway. She didn't say anything, just watched. Her expression was complicated, soft and wary at the same time. "Dinner's ready," she said finally. They ate in the shop's small dining area. Aunt Marva had made baked chicken, roasted vegetables, and mac and cheese. Simple food that tasted like home. Mason talked non-stop. Miles ate quietly but kept glancing at Ethan like he was checking to make sure he was still there. "So, Mr. Ethan," Aunt Marva said, "what exactly do you do, besides show up at weddings and cause drama?" "Aunt Marva," Janelle warned. "I'm an architect," Ethan said. "I design buildings, homes mostly." "Any good at it?" "I'd like to think so." She passed him more chicken. "My niece here, she's good at what she does. Built this whole business from nothing. Raised 2 boys alone, didn't complain, didn't ask for help, just did it." "I can see that. So if you're planning on sticking around, you better bring something to the table. These boys don't need a part-time father. They need someone who shows up every day, even when it's hard." "I understand. Do you?" Her eyes were sharp. "Because parenting isn't just the fun parts. It's not just cookies and blocks. It's 3 a.m. stomach bugs. It's tantrums in the grocery store. It's worry that never stops. You ready for that? Ethan looked at the twins. Mason had mac and cheese on his cheek. Miles was carefully cutting his chicken into tiny pieces. I'm ready to try, he said. Aunt Marva studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded once. We'll see. After dinner, Ethan helped clean up while Janelle got the boys ready for bed. When everything was put away, she appeared in the doorway. They want you to read them a story, she said, if you have time. I have time. The twins' room was small but cozy. Bunk beds with superhero sheets, glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling, drawings taped to the walls. They were already in pajamas, teeth brushed, hair damp from baths. What story do you want? Janelle asked, showing Ethan the bookshelf. The dinosaur one, Mason said. No, the train, Miles argued. How about both? Ethan suggested. One now, one tomorrow? Both boys went quiet. Tomorrow? Mason asked. You're coming back tomorrow? Ethan looked at Janelle. She gave him the smallest nod. If it's okay with your mom, I'd like to come back every day. Mason and Miles looked at each other. Some silent twin communication passed between them. Okay, Miles said softly. They read the dinosaur book first. Ethan did his best with the voices, though not nearly as good as Janelle probably did. The boys didn't seem to mind. Halfway through, Miles climbed onto the floor and leaned against Ethan's leg, just a small weight, trusting. Something cracked open in Ethan's chest. When the story ended, Janelle tucked them in, kissed their foreheads, turned on the nightlight shaped like a rocket ship. Night, Mom, they chorused. Night, mister. Ethan, Mason added. Good night, guys. Ethan managed around the lump in his throat. Outside in the hallway, he had to lean against the wall for a moment. You okay? Janelle asked. Yeah, they're amazing. You've done an incredible job with them. They're good kids. She crossed her arms. So, you coming back tomorrow? If you'll have me. She was quiet. In the dim hallway, her face was hard to read. Ethan, I need you to be sure about this. Really sure. Because if you disappear now after they're starting to trust you, I won't disappear. You did before. I was different before. He pushed off the wall, faced her. I was scared and selfish and convinced I had plenty of time to figure my life out. But I don't have time anymore, Janelle. I've already missed 4 years. I'm not missing anymore. She searched his face, looking for cracks, for doubt. Okay, she said finally. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. But Ethan, you mess this up, you hurt my boys, and I will never forgive you. I won't mess it up. We'll see. He left then, walking out into the cool night. His car was the only one on the street. The shop lights glowed warm behind him. As he drove away, his phone lit up with messages. His mother demanding to know what was happening, Clara's lawyer with paperwork, his firm wanting to know when he'd be back. He'd answer them all eventually. But right now all he could think about was tomorrow, and the day after, and all the days stretching ahead where he'd get to be someone's father, someone's family. For the first time in 5 years, he knew exactly where he was supposed to be. The news spread fast. By Wednesday, everyone in town knew that Ethan Ward had called off his wedding to be with his secret family. The story grew with each telling. Some versions made him a hero, a man choosing his children over a loveless marriage. Others painted him as a villain who'd abandoned Janelle years ago and only returned when caught. The truth, as always, lived somewhere in the middle. Ethan showed up every day, 6 o'clock, like clockwork, sometimes earlier if Janelle had deliveries. He learned their routines, how Mason needed his socks pulled up just right or he'd complain all day, how Miles liked his sandwiches cut diagonally, never straight across, how both boys needed exactly 3 books before bed, no more, no less. He learned Janelle's routines too, how she prepped ingredients the night before, how she hummed when she was happy, how she rubbed her left shoulder when she was tired. He'd forgotten how much he'd loved watching her work. On Thursday afternoon, he was helping her box up a catering order when his phone rang. Clara's lawyer again. He'd been calling all week. You should answer that, Janelle said, not looking up from her checklist. It can wait. Ethan, she set down her pen. For you can't ignore this forever. She has a right to whatever she needs from you. I know, he declined the call. I'll deal with it tonight. But dealing with it meant facing the consequences. The wedding had cost over $200,000. Clara wanted him to cover half the non-refundable deposits. Her lawyer was also suggesting emotional damages, though that part seemed like posturing. Ethan had the money. That wasn't the issue. The issue was every time he transferred funds or signed papers, he felt the weight of what he'd done. Not regret exactly, but recognition of the damage. You're thinking too loud, Janelle said. Sorry. Is it bad? The money thing? It's manageable. He taped another box shut. My firm gave me a leave of absence. Paid for now. But they want me back in Boston by the 1st of next month. She went very still. Boston. Yeah. So you're leaving? No. He looked at her directly. I'm quitting. I called them yesterday. Gave them a month to find someone else for my projects. Her eyes widened. Ethan, you can't just... That's your career. I can work from anywhere. Architecture's flexible that way. I've already got some leads on firms in the city here, and if that doesn't work out, I'll freelance. You're giving up everything for them, for you, for... He gestured around the shop. For this, a real life, instead of whatever I was doing before. She opened her mouth. Closed it, opened it again. That's crazy, she said finally. Probably. You barely know them, barely know me anymore. What if this doesn't work out? What if you wake up in 6 months and realize you made a huge mistake? He set down the tape gun, moved closer but didn't touch her. Janelle, I made the huge mistake 5 years ago when I left. Everything since then has been me trying to convince myself that mistake was actually the right choice. But it wasn't, and I'm done pretending. She looked at him for a long moment. Her eyes shone with something that might have been tears. The bell above the door chimed. They sprang apart like guilty teenagers. A woman walked in. 50s, well-dressed, with blonde hair styled in a perfect bob. Her eyes swept the shop, landing on Ethan with obvious recognition. So it's true, she said. You're really here. Mom! Ethan's stomach dropped. What are you doing here? Margaret Ward had that look she always got when she disapproved of something. Lips pressed thin, eyebrows raised. The look that had made Ethan straighten his spine his whole childhood. Your phone goes straight to voicemail, she said. You've ignored my messages for a week. So I drove here myself to see what could possibly be important enough for you to throw your entire life away. Mom, this isn't a good time. I disagree. I think this is an excellent time. Her gaze shifted to Janelle. You must be the caterer. Janelle straightened her shoulders. Janelle Brooks. This is my shop. I'm sure it's very nice. The words dripped with condescension. Though I have to say, I'm surprised my son is spending so much time in what would you call this? A lunch counter. It's a catering business, Janelle said evenly. We do everything from private dinners to corporate events. How ambitious. Margaret's smile didn't reach her eyes. Tell me, Ms. Brooks, did you know my son was getting married when you arranged to work at his wedding? Mom, stop. It's a fair question, Ethan. I'm simply trying to understand how we went from planning your wedding to you hiding out here playing house with my sons, Ethan cut in. His voice came out harder than he intended. Your grandsons. Margaret's expression flickered. Something that might have been hurt crossed her face before the mask returned. Alleged grandsons, she said. You haven't even confirmed paternity. I don't need a test. Look at them and you'll know. I'm not looking at anything until I see legal proof. For all you know, this woman saw you in the news and decided to... Mrs. Ward. Janelle's voice cut through the air like a knife. I understand you're upset. Your son called off his wedding. That's embarrassing for you. But I didn't trap anyone. I didn't even want him here. Then why is he here? Because he insisted. Because those boys deserve to know their father. Not because I asked for anything. She moved to the door and opened it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do, and my children will be home soon. I'd prefer they didn't meet their grandmother like this. Margaret's face went red. How dare you? Mom, let's go. Ethan took his mother's arm. Outside. Now. He steered her out to the sidewalk. The door closed behind them with a decisive click. That was unacceptable, Ethan said. Unacceptable. Ethan, you cancelled your wedding 2 days before the ceremony. You've abandoned your career, your home, everything we planned. Everything you planned. She recoiled like he'd slapped her. What's that supposed to mean? It means Clara was your choice, Boston was your choice. My whole life has been about making choices you approved of. He ran his hand through his hair. I'm done doing that. So you're throwing away everything for some woman you dated 5 years ago? For children you can't even prove are yours? They're mine, Mom. I know they're mine. How? Because they have blonde hair. Half the children in this town have blonde hair. Because when I look at them, I see myself, I see Dad, I see... His voice cracked. I see everything I should have been there for. Margaret's face softened slightly. The mention of his father always did that. He died 3 years ago, and she still wore her wedding ring. Your father would want you to be smart about this, she said more gently. To protect yourself, to make sure you're not being taken advantage of. Dad would want me to be happy, to be there for my family. To do the right thing even when it's hard. The right thing. She shook her head. The right thing was marrying Clara, building your career, having children the proper way, with someone appropriate. Someone appropriate. Ethan laughed bitterly. You mean someone rich, someone white, someone from the right family? I didn't say that. You didn't have to. They stood in silence. A car passed. Someone walked by with a dog. Normal life continuing around them. I love her, Ethan said quietly. I loved her 5 years ago and I love her now. I was just too scared and too stupid to choose her over your approval. Ethan, but I'm choosing now. I'm choosing them. All 3 of them. And if you can't accept that then, he swallowed hard, then I guess you have a choice to make too. Margaret's eyes filled with tears. You're my son, I know. And those boys in there are your grandsons. But you can't have one without the other. She dabbed at her eyes with a tissue from her purse. You're really sure about this? More sure than I've ever been about anything. She looked toward the shop. Through the window they could see Janelle moving boxes, her movements efficient and graceful. She seems very independent, Margaret said. She is. And the children. They're healthy, well-behaved. They're perfect. Margaret sighed. The sound of a woman who'd lost an argument but wouldn't quite admit it. I suppose I should meet them properly, she said. Not today, but soon, if that woman will allow it. Her name is Janelle. If Janelle will allow it. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't acceptance, but it was something. Thank you, Ethan said. Don't thank me yet. She straightened her jacket. I still think you're making a mistake, but you're an adult. You get to make your own mistakes. She walked to her car, a Mercedes of course, and drove away. Ethan went back inside. Janelle was aggressively organizing boxes that didn't need organizing. I'm sorry, he said. Don't be. I've dealt with worse. She had no right to talk to you that way. She's protecting her son. I understand that. Janelle set down a box with more force than necessary. Doesn't mean I liked it. She wants to meet the boys. Properly, she said. Of course she does. Janelle's laugh was sharp. After she's sure we're not trying to scam you. Janelle, it's fine, really. She wiped her hands on her apron. We should probably get them tested anyway. For medical records, if nothing else. The words hurt more than they should have. You don't believe me? That they're mine? I know they're yours, Ethan. I was there when they were conceived. Her voice softened. But the rest of the world will want proof. Your mother's right about that much. He wanted to argue, wanted to say it didn't matter what anyone else thought, but she was right. There would be legal things eventually, insurance, medical decisions, school paperwork. Okay, he said. We'll do the test. Thank you. They finished packing in silence. An uncomfortable silence this time, like his mother's visit had opened a crack in the foundation they'd been building. When Aunt Marva arrived with the twins, the tension broke. Mr. Ethan! Mason barreled through the door. Guess what? I lost a tooth! He opened his mouth wide to show the gap in his smile. The tooth fairy's gonna come, Miles added. Miss Sarah says she brings quarters. Dollars, Janelle corrected. The tooth fairy brings dollars these days. Inflation, Aunt Marva muttered. They all laughed and the heaviness lifted. But that night, after stories and bedtime and quiet cleanup, Janelle walked Ethan to the door like always. Your mother's not wrong, she said quietly. This is fast. We barely know each other anymore. Maybe we should slow down. Fear spiked through him. Slow down how? I don't know. Just maybe you don't come every day. Maybe we take some time to figure out what this is before what? She looked at him with those eyes that saw too much. Before they get attached. Before it hurts when you leave. I'm not leaving. Everyone leaves, Ethan. The words hung between them. All the hurt she'd carried for 5 years, right there in that one sentence. Not this time, he said. She wanted to believe him. He could see it in her face. But belief was hard when you'd been let down before. Good night, Ethan, she said. He left, but the conversation sat heavy in his chest all the way home. Friday morning he showed up at the shop at 9, early, before he was expected. Janelle was alone, prepping for a lunch delivery. She looked surprised to see him. The boys are at school, she said. I know I came to talk to you. She set down her knife, wiped her hands. Okay, you asked me to slow down, but I don't think that's really what you want. Ethan, I think you're scared. I think you're waiting for me to disappoint you again, and I get that, I do. But pushing me away won't protect you, Janelle. It'll just make both of us miserable. I'm not pushing you away, aren't you? She was quiet. Outside, a delivery truck rumbled past. 5 years ago, she said finally, you told me you loved me. Then you left anyway. How do I know this time is different? Because I'm different. He stepped closer. Because I've spent 5 years being miserable without you. Because I've met my sons and I can't imagine my life without them. Without any of you. Pretty words. Not words. Truth. He pulled something from his pocket. A folded paper. Handed it to her. She unfolded it. Her eyes widened. It was his resignation letter from the Boston firm. Officially submitted. Signed and dated. I burned the bridge, he said. I can't go back even if I wanted to. I'm here, Janelle. For good. Whether you want me or not. Her hands trembled slightly. This is crazy. Maybe, but I'm done playing it safe. Safe got me a life I hated and a wedding I couldn't go through with. He touched her hand lightly. I want messy. I want real. I want... What? What do you want? You? Them? This? He gestured around the shop. I want to help you with deliveries and learn how to make your cassoulet properly. I want to read bedtime stories every night. I want to figure out who I am when I'm not trying to impress anyone. Tears slipped down her cheeks. You hurt me. I know. It took me so long to be okay again. I know. If you hurt me again, if you hurt them, I won't. I swear I won't. He cupped her face gently. But I can't prove that with words. I can only prove it by staying, every day, every hard moment, every midnight stomach bug and grocery store tantrum. I'm here, Janelle. Let me prove it. She closed her eyes, leaned into his palm. This is terrifying, she whispered. For me, too. What if it doesn't work? What if it does? She opened her eyes, looked at him with all the fear and hope and love that she'd been hiding. Okay, she said. But no more secrets. No more running. If this gets hard, we talk about it. Deal? Deal. He kissed her forehead. Soft, gentle. The first real touch they'd shared since he came back. She shuddered, pulled away slightly. We should slow down, she said. The physical stuff. The boys are getting attached to you, and if we move too fast and things go wrong, whatever you need, whatever pace you're comfortable with. Okay. She took a breath, steadied herself. Okay. Help me finish these sandwiches. Then we have a delivery at 11. They worked side by side and something had shifted. The walls weren't completely down, but they were cracking. Light was getting through. That afternoon, Clara's bombshell hit. Ethan was in the shop's kitchen, washing dishes while Janelle prepped for dinner, when his phone exploded with notifications. Text from his best man. Dude, what the hell? Text from his former assistant. Is this for real? Text from 3 different college friends. Call me now. He opened Instagram. The first post on his feed was from Clara, a photo of him at Janelle's shop, laughing with the twins. Someone must have taken it through the window. Below it, Clara's caption. When the man you thought you knew turns out to have a secret family. 5 years of lies. 2 days before our wedding, I find out he has twin sons he never mentioned. He chose them over our future together. I'm heartbroken but moving forward. Please respect my privacy during this time. Betrayed. Moving on. Truth hurts. The post already had thousands of likes, hundreds of comments. Oh no, Ethan breathed. Janelle looked over his shoulder, read the screen. Her face went pale. She posted it publicly, with a photo. He scrolled through the comments. Most were supporting Clara. A few were calling him various creative insults. This is going to get worse. He was right. Within an hour, local news had picked it up. By evening, it had spread to regional sites. Architect abandons bride for secret family, read one headline. Runaway grooms hidden children, read another. Ethan's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters, former colleagues, people he hadn't talked to in years, suddenly very interested in his life. Janelle's phone was worse. Customers calling to cancel orders. Friends asking for the real story. Someone from a tabloid offering money for an exclusive interview. I need to put out a statement, Ethan said. No. Janelle's voice was firm. You feed this story. It gets bigger. We ignore it. It dies. But people are saying terrible things about you. Let them. She squared her shoulders. I know the truth. You know the truth. That's what matters. But it didn't feel like that was what mattered when 3 catering clients cancelled the next day, when someone left a 1-star review on Janelle's business page saying she was a home wrecker who trapped a man with kids, when Mason came home from preschool crying because another kid said his mum was bad. That night, Janelle sat at the small kitchen table with her head in her hands. I can't do this, she said quietly. Ethan, who'd been washing dinner dishes, turned. Can't do what? This. The attention, the judgment. Mason asked me today why people are mad at us. How do I explain this to a 4-year-old? We tell him the truth, that his dad and I knew each other before, that we lost touch, that we found each other again. That's not the story people are telling. She looked up. Her eyes were red. They're saying I'm a liar, that I kept you from your children on purpose, that I'm using them to trap you. No one who matters thinks that. Everyone thinks that, Ethan. I've lost 6 clients this week, 6. That's thousands of dollars in income. The bills don't stop just because people decide I'm the villain. Guilt crashed over him. This was his fault. His past catching up and dragging her down. I'll fix this, he said. How? He stopped, started over. I'll put out a statement. I'll take responsibility. I'll make it clear that none of this is your fault. That'll just make it worse. Then what do you want me to do? She shook her head. I don't know, I need time to think about all of this. Fear spiked through him. Janelle, please don't. I'm not asking you to leave, but maybe you should go home tonight. Give me some space to figure this out. Every instinct screamed at him to argue, to stay, to fix this. But he'd promised. No running, no hiding. If she needed space, he'd give it. Okay, he said, but I'll be here tomorrow, and the day after. However long you need, I'll be here. She nodded without looking at him. He left the shop feeling like he'd failed somehow, like the foundation they'd been building was cracking under pressure. His apartment felt empty. He'd barely been there all week. The furniture was still the same. The art on the walls. The expensive coffee maker Clara had picked out. But it didn't feel like home. Home was a small shop with mismatched tables and the smell of fresh bread. Home was 2 little boys arguing over which dinosaur was best. Home was a woman who hummed when she cooked and believed in second chances, even when they terrified her. He sat on his couch in the dark. His phone buzzed with another message, another reporter, another curious friend. He turned it off. Somewhere across town, Janelle was probably putting the boys to bed alone, reading them stories alone, dealing with this mess alone, the way she dealt with everything alone for 5 years. He'd promised not to run, but maybe the bravest thing wasn't staying. Maybe it was giving her the space to choose him freely, without pressure, without obligation, even if that choice might break his heart. Tomorrow he'd prove himself again, and the day after, and the day after that, for as long as it took. Ethan kept his promise. He showed up the next morning at 9, and the morning after that, and the one after that. But something had changed. Janelle was polite, professional. She let him help with deliveries, let him see the boys. But the warmth from before was gone. She'd pulled back into herself, rebuilding walls he'd thought were finally coming down. The media attention didn't help. A gossip blog picked up the story, then another. Someone dug up old photos of him and Clara at charity events. Someone else found Janelle's business license application from 3 years ago and made a timeline suggesting she'd planned this all along. It was absurd. It was hurtful. It wouldn't stop. On Wednesday, Ethan made a decision. He drove to the local television station, the one that had been calling him for days, asking for an interview. The receptionist's eyes widened when he walked in. I want to make a statement, he said. On camera, today. They had him set up within an hour. A small studio, a single camera. The evening news anchor, a woman named Patricia Chen, who'd been covering the story, sat across from him with a concerned expression. Mr. Ward, thank you for speaking with us, she said when the camera started rolling. I know this has been a difficult week. It has, Ethan agreed, but not for the reasons people think. Can you tell us your side of the story? He took a breath, looked directly at the camera. 5 years ago, I was in a relationship with Janelle Brooks. We were young and in love, and I thought we had all the time in the world to figure things out. But when a job opportunity came up in Boston, I took it. I left. I chose my career over her, and that was the biggest mistake of my life. Patricia leaned forward. Did you know she was pregnant? No. She tried to tell me, but He swallowed. I was too busy, too focused on my new life. I didn't make time for her calls. Eventually, she stopped calling. I thought she'd moved on. I convinced myself it was for the best. And the children? I didn't know about them until last week. When I saw them at my wedding rehearsal, I knew immediately. They're my sons, Mason and Miles. They're 4 years old and they're incredible, and I've missed every moment of their lives so far. So you cancelled your wedding? My fiancée, ex-fiancée, gave me an ultimatum. She said if those boys were mine, she wouldn't marry me. And I realized in that moment that there was no choice to make. My sons needed me. Their mother needed support. Everything else was just noise. Patricia paused. Some people are saying, Ms. Brooks kept your children from you deliberately. That she's using them to... Stop. Ethan's voice came out harder than he intended. I'm going to say this clearly. Janelle Brooks is one of the strongest, most honorable people I've ever known. She built a business from nothing while raising 2 children alone. She never asked me for money, never tried to contact me after I made it clear I'd moved on. She protected our sons from the pain of having an absent father by telling them I simply wasn't ready to be a parent, which was true. But she didn't keep them from me. I kept myself from them by being too cowardly to stay 5 years ago, by being too self-absorbed to return her calls, by choosing easy over right again and again. He looked directly at the camera. If anyone wants to blame someone for those boys growing up without a father, blame me. I'm the one who left. I'm the one who didn't answer. I'm the villain in this story, not her. What about your ex-fiancée? Clara Voss has said she feels betrayed. Clara deserves better than what I did to her. I should have been honest about my past. I should have told her about Janelle. The fact that I didn't is another failure on my part, not hers. I hope she finds someone who can give her the life she deserves. But I couldn't be that person. Not when my heart was always somewhere else. Patricia looked taken aback by his honesty. So what happens now? Now I do what I should have done 5 years ago. I show up. Every day. I learn how to be the father my sons need. I support the woman who's been carrying this burden alone. And I stop caring what people think about it. Even if it costs you your career, your reputation. My reputation. He almost laughed. I abandoned the woman I loved and missed the first 4 years of my children's lives because I was chasing reputation. I'm done with that. The only people whose opinion matters are in a small catering shop downtown. Everyone else can think whatever they want. The interview ended. Patricia thanked him, promised it would air that evening. Ethan drove straight to Janelle's shop. She was in the kitchen, rolling out pastry dough with more force than necessary. "What did you do?" she asked without looking up. "You saw? The news station's been promoting it all afternoon. Runaway groom tells his side of the story. Ethan, I told you not to—" "I know, but I couldn't let people keep saying those things about you, about us." He moved closer. "You said no more secrets, no more running. So I'm not running from this. I'm facing it head on, by going on television, by telling the truth." She finally looked at him. Her eyes were tired. "The truth doesn't matter to most people. They've already decided who's right and who's wrong. Maybe. But it matters to me. And hopefully it matters to you." The bell chimed. They both turned. A woman walked in, mid-40s, black, carrying a designer handbag. She looked around the shop with an assessing gaze. "Can I help you?" Janelle asked, her professional mask sliding into place. "I hope so. My name is Diane Mitchell. I run Mitchell Events. We do corporate catering and event planning downtown." She extended her hand. "I've been following your story." Janelle's jaw tightened. "I'm not giving interviews. I'm not asking for one. I'm asking if you'd like a job." Diane smiled. "We just lost our head chef. She moved to Atlanta. When I saw your name in the news, I looked you up. Your reviews are exceptional. Your menu is creative. And frankly, I'm tired of my company being run by only white caterers. This city needs more diversity in the food scene." Janelle stared. "You want to hire me because I was in the news. I want to hire you because you're talented. The news just made me aware you existed." Diane pulled out a business card. "Think about it. The salary's competitive, full benefits, and you'd have creative control over the menu. Plus, we have consistent corporate clients, steady income instead of hustling for individual events." She set the card on the counter and left as quickly as she'd arrived. Janelle picked up the card. Read it again. "That's—" Ethan started. "Weird," Janelle finished. "That's really weird." But over the next few days, more weird things happened. A food blogger requested an interview about Janelle's journey as a single mother entrepreneur. A local magazine wanted to feature her shop. 3 new clients booked catering for weddings next spring. The narrative was shifting. Instead of homewrecker, people were starting to see Janelle as resilient single mother. Instead of villain, she was becoming inspiration. Ethan's interview had aired Wednesday night. The response was mixed. Some people praised his honesty, others called him a fool. But the attacks on Janelle slowed, then stopped. On Friday, something else shifted. Ethan arrived at the shop to find Aunt Marva there alone, prepping vegetables. "Where's Janelle?" he asked. "Interview with that Mitchell woman, left about an hour ago." Marva looked up. "The boys are in the back. They've been asking for you." He found them building with blocks. Mason saw him first. "Daddy!" The word hit Ethan like lightning. Mason froze. His eyes went wide. "I mean, Mr. Ethan, sorry." "No." Ethan knelt down to his level. His throat was tight. "Say it again." "Say what?" "What you just called me." Mason looked uncertain, looked at Miles, who was watching with big, solemn eyes. "Daddy?" Mason said quietly. Ethan pulled him into a hug, then grabbed Miles too, holding both boys close. "Yes," he managed. "Yes, I'm your daddy. I should have been here all along, but I'm here now, and I'm never leaving, okay?" "Okay," Mason said, his voice muffled against Ethan's shirt. Miles just held on tighter. When Janelle came back an hour later, she found them on the floor. Ethan was being a dinosaur while the twins were paleontologists trying to capture him. The game made no sense, but they were all laughing. She stopped in the doorway. Her expression was complicated. "They called me Daddy," Ethan said when he saw her. "I heard." She set down her purse. "Mason's been practicing all week. I told him he could use it if he wanted to." "And you're okay with that? They deserve to call you what you are." She smiled slightly. "Besides, Aunt Marva said you cried. She took a photo." She did not. She absolutely did. Janelle pulled out her phone, showed him. Sure enough, there he was with tears on his face and both boys in his arms. "I'm sending you that," she said, "for when you doubt whether this is real." Something in her voice made him look at her more carefully. "You took the job." "I took the job. Starts next month." She sat down on the floor beside them. "It's scary, giving up my shop, working for someone else, but the salary's good, the benefits are better, and I'll have actual time with the boys instead of working 18-hour days." "That's amazing, Janelle." "Yeah." She watched the twins playing. "Maybe good things can come from bad situations after all." Over the next 2 weeks, life found a rhythm. Ethan helped Janelle transition her business. They contacted her regular clients, recommended other caterers, tied up loose ends. She was keeping the shop, subletting it to a young couple who wanted to open a bakery, but her catering days were ending. He also found work. A small architectural firm in the city hired him part-time. The pay was less than Boston, but the hours were flexible. He could pick the boys up from preschool twice a week, could have dinner with them every night, could be present. His mother came to visit on a Tuesday, unannounced like before, but this time she brought gifts: a stuffed T-Rex for Mason, an art set for Miles, and a peace offering for Janelle, an expensive bottle of wine. "I was rude," Margaret said stiffly. "I apologize." Janelle accepted the apology with grace, invited her to stay for dinner. It was awkward at first. Margaret clearly didn't know how to talk to 4-year-olds. She kept asking them questions like they were tiny adults. But then Miles showed her his drawings. And something in Margaret's face softened. "You have talent," she told him seriously. "Real talent. My husband, your grandfather, he loved to draw too." "Really?" Miles's eyes lit up. "Really? I still have his sketchbooks. Would you like to see them sometime?" Miles nodded eagerly. Mason tugged on her sleeve. "Do you want to see my dinosaur book? It has real facts." "I would love that." By the end of the evening, Margaret was reading to both boys on the couch. Her proper posture had relaxed. Her voice was warm. "She's trying," Janelle said quietly to Ethan in the kitchen. "She is. Do you think she'll ever really accept this? Accept me? I think she already does. She's just too proud to admit it yet." He touched Janelle's hand. "Give her time. She'll come around." Janelle looked at their hands, didn't pull away. "We should talk," she said. "Okay, not here. The boys, they have ears everywhere." She smiled slightly. "Tomorrow night, after they're asleep, I'll be here." The next evening, after stories and bedtimes and Margaret's departure, Janelle made coffee. They sat at the small kitchen table like they had so many times before. "I've been thinking," she started. Ethan's stomach clenched. Those words never led anywhere good. "About," he managed. "Us. This." She gestured between them. "We've been so focused on the boys, on fixing the immediate crisis, that we haven't talked about what happens next. What do you want to happen next?" "I don't know." She wrapped her hands around her mug. 5 years ago I thought I knew. I thought we'd build a life together. Then you left, and I had to rebuild everything alone. I became a different person." "I know. Do you?" She looked at him. "Because the Janelle you knew was 24 and naive, and believed love conquered everything. This Janelle knows better. This Janelle has been hurt and disappointed, and learned to protect herself. I'm not trying to hurt you again. I know you're not. But Ethan," she paused, "you gave up Boston, you gave up your engagement. You're here every day being an amazing father. But is it enough? What do you mean? I mean, are you doing this because you want to? Or because you feel guilty? Because they're two different things." The question sat heavy between them. "I'm here because I love you," Ethan said. "I'm here because when I look at you, I remember who I wanted to be before I got scared. I'm here because those boys deserve a father, yes, but also because their mother deserves a partner. Someone who shows up, someone who stays. Pretty words again. Not just words. He reached across the table, took her hand. I know I have to prove it. I know actions matter more than promises. But Janelle, I'm not going anywhere. Whether you want a relationship with me or not, I'm still going to be here for those boys. I'm still going to show up. I'm still going to... I know. She squeezed his hand. That's what scares me. What does? That you mean it this time, that this is real. Because if I let myself believe it, if I let myself fall again, and then somehow it falls apart, her voice broke. I don't think I could survive it twice. Ethan stood, moved around the table, knelt beside her chair. Then don't fall alone, he said. Let me fall with you. Let me prove that this time I'm staying at the bottom with you. In the mess, in the hard parts, in all of it. She looked down at him with tears in her eyes. You really love me? I never stopped, even when you were engaged to someone else. Especially then. I just didn't let myself admit it. He touched her face gently. I'm done running, Janelle. From you, from us, from everything I was too scared to want before. I'm here, I'm yours, if you'll have me. She leaned down, kissed him softly. The first real kiss since he'd come back. It tasted like coffee and second chances, and coming home. Slow, she whispered against his lips. We're taking this slow as you need. I mean it, Ethan, the boys come first, always. If they're not comfortable, if this confuses them, then we adjust. We figure it out together. He kissed her again. I'm not going to mess this up. Not again. You better not. But she was smiling, because Aunt Marva has a shotgun, and she's not afraid to use it. I believe that completely. They sat together for a long time, talking quietly, making plans, figuring out what their future might look like. 2 months later, Janelle's shop officially closed. The new bakery tenants moved in, excited and nervous. Janelle started at Mitchell Events, creating menus that quickly became the company's signature. Ethan's freelance work picked up. He designed a community center for the city, a renovation for the Historical Society. Small projects but meaningful. And the flexible hours meant he was there for pickups, drop-offs, doctor's appointments, and all the small moments he'd missed before. The boys started calling him Daddy full-time. It never stopped feeling like a gift. Clara moved to New York. She'd sent him a text a month ago. I hope you're happy, I really do, but please don't ever contact me again. He wouldn't. She deserved to move on without reminders. His mother came to visit every Sunday. She brought groceries, helped with laundry, and was slowly becoming the grandmother the boys deserved. She and Janelle would never be close. Too much history, too much hurt. But they were finding respect. That was enough. On a cold evening in November, Ethan was helping Mason with a school project, a diorama of dinosaurs, while Miles drew at the table. Janelle was making soup, humming along to jazz on the radio. It was ordinary, simple, perfect. Daddy? Mason looked up from gluing plastic trees. Are you going to marry Mommy? The kitchen went quiet. Janelle turned from the stove. Mason? She started. What? Mason looked confused. Lucas's daddy married his mommy, and Jacob's dad is married to his mom. So are you going to marry ours? Miles looked up from his drawing. Both boys watched Ethan with innocent curiosity. That's... Ethan glanced at Janelle. That's something your mum and I would have to talk about. But do you want to? Miles asked quietly. Ethan looked at Janelle. She was frozen, wooden spoon in hand, her expression unreadable. Yes, he said honestly. Someday, if your mom wants that, I'd like to marry her very much. Why someday? Mason asked. Why not now? Because grown-ups are complicated, buddy, Janelle said, finding her voice. Now finish your dinosaurs, dinner's almost ready. But after the boys were in bed, she found Ethan on the back step. He was staring at the small yard, his breath making clouds in the cold air. Sorry about that, she said, sitting beside him. Kids ask the strangest things. It wasn't strange. No, it was honest. He looked at her. I do want to marry you, Janelle. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday, when you're ready, I want to make this official. I want to stand up in front of everyone and promise you forever. We tried forever once. It didn't work. We didn't try. I ran. That's different. He took her hand. But I understand. If you need more time, more proof. I'll wait as long as you need. She was quiet for a long moment. Ask me again in a year. A year? If you're still here in a year, still showing up every day, still loving this messy, complicated life, Then ask me. She smiled. And I'll probably say yes. Probably? Definitely. But don't let it go to your head. He laughed, pulled her closer. They sat together on the cold step, watching stars appear in the darkening sky. Spring came gentle and warm. Ethan had been designing something in secret, a surprise for Janelle's birthday. The night before, he worked late at his apartment, finalizing drawings, checking measurements, making sure everything was perfect. On her birthday, he picked up the boys from preschool early. They were buzzing with excitement, barely able to keep the secret. "Is it ready?" Mason whispered loudly. "Can we show her now?" "Soon," Ethan promised. "Let's go get her first." They picked Janelle up from work. She looked tired but happy. The new job was demanding but good. "Where are we going?" she asked when Ethan drove past their usual route. "You'll see." He pulled up to a building she recognized, the old Miller property downtown. It had been for sale for months. "Ethan, what?" "Come look." He led them inside. The space was empty, but full of potential. High ceilings, beautiful light, an open floor plan. Perfect for a restaurant, Janelle breathed. "You want to open a restaurant?" "We want to open a restaurant," Ethan corrected. "If you're interested, I've been working on designs. Look," he unrolled the drawings on the floor. "Kitchen here, dining room here, small private event space in the back. We'd call it the second course. You cook, I design. We build it together." He looked up at her. "What do you think?" She studied the drawings. Her eyes filled with tears. "I think you're crazy." "Good crazy or bad crazy?" "Good crazy." "Maybe." She looked around the space. "This would be expensive, risky. What if it fails? What if it doesn't?" Mason tugged on her sleeve. "Mum, say yes. We helped draw the menu." Miles pulled out a piece of paper covered in crayon drawings. "See? This is the kids' menu, with dinosaur chicken nuggets." Janelle laughed through her tears. "You've been planning this behind my back?" "For 3 months," Ethan admitted. "I wanted to surprise you, give you something that was yours. Ours. The second course," she said softly. "Because everyone deserves a second chance." "Exactly." She walked through the space, imagining, planning, dreaming. "Okay," she said finally. "Let's do it. Let's build something beautiful." The restaurant opened in August. It was small, intimate, only 30 seats, but the food was exceptional and word spread fast. Ethan had designed every detail, from the exposed brick walls to the custom light fixtures, to the small play area where the boys could do homework while Janelle worked. Opening night, the dining room filled with friends and family. Aunt Marva cried. Margaret actually smiled. The boys wore tiny bow ties and helped seat guests. At the end of the night, after everyone had left and the kitchen was clean, Ethan and Janelle stood in the middle of their restaurant. "We did it," she said. "You did it. I just drew some pictures. Don't sell yourself short." She leaned against him. "This is perfect, Ethan, all of it." He kissed the top of her head. "It's been a year." "Has it? You said to ask you again in a year. If I was still here, still showing up." She pulled back to look at him. "You kept track?" "Of course I kept track." He pulled a small box from his pocket. Janelle's breath caught. "I'm not proposing," he said quickly. "Not yet. Not until you say you're ready. But I wanted you to know that I'm ready, that I've been ready, that when you say the word I'll ask you properly, with all the romance and ceremony you deserve." She took the box, opened it. Inside was a simple gold ring with a single diamond. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "It was my grandmother's. Mom gave it to me last week, said it should go to someone who understands what forever really means. High praise from Margaret Ward. The highest." Janelle closed the box, handed it back to him. "Keep it safe. You're not ready." "I'm almost ready. Ask me at Christmas." "Christmas? The boys will be with us. Your mum too, probably. Aunt Marva. Everyone who matters." She smiled. "That's when I'll say yes." "You're sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." Christmas came with snow. They celebrated at Janelle's house. Their house now, really. Ethan had moved in 2 months ago. Slowly, carefully, making sure the boys were comfortable with the change. They'd adjusted beautifully. Mason loved having Ethan there for breakfast. Miles loved the bedtime routine where Ethan read and Janelle did the funny voices. Christmas morning was chaos. Wrapping paper everywhere. The boys shrieking over new dinosaurs and art supplies. Margaret helping with breakfast while Aunt Marva criticized her scrambled egg technique. It was loud and messy and perfect. After presents were opened and everyone was caffeinated, Ethan stood. "I have one more gift," he said. "Ethan, we said no more gifts," Janelle started, but he was already kneeling. already pulling out the ring box. The room went silent. "Janelle Brooks," he said. His voice shook slightly. "5 years ago I was too scared to choose you, too worried about what choosing you might cost me. I was an idiot." "Yes, you were," Aunt Marva muttered. Margaret shushed her. "But you gave me another chance. You let me meet our sons. You let me prove that I could be better. And every day with you, with them, has been the best day of my life." He opened the box. "So I'm asking now, in front of everyone who matters, will you marry me?" Janelle's eyes filled with tears. "Yes." "Yes, yes," she laughed. "Put the ring on before I change my mind." He slid it onto her finger with shaking hands, then stood and kissed her, while everyone cheered. Mason and Miles crashed into them, creating a family hug. Margaret wiped her eyes. Aunt Marva was openly crying. "About time," she said. "Lord, about time." Later, after everyone had gone home and the boys were asleep, Ethan and Janelle sat on the couch. The Christmas tree lights glowed soft in the darkness. "I can't believe we're getting married," Janelle said. "I can't believe you said yes. Why wouldn't I? You've proven yourself. Every single day for over a year. You showed up, Ethan. You stayed. I told you I would. I know. But you actually did it." She leaned against him. "What do you think your grandmother would say about all this?" "She'd say I was lucky, that I found something real in a world full of fake, that I better not screw it up again." "Good advice. The best." They sat in comfortable silence. Outside, snow fell soft and steady. "Thank you," Janelle said quietly. "For what?" "For coming back, for fighting for us, for being the father our boys needed, and the partner I'd given up hoping for." She turned to look at him. "Thank you for choosing us. Thank you for letting me." He kissed her softly. "I love you. I should have said that more 5 years ago. I'll say it every day now." "Good, because I love you too." She smiled. "Even when you burn the cookies, even when you leave your socks everywhere, even when—" He kissed her again, laughing. "I get it. Unconditional love. The real kind. The real kind," she agreed. Upstairs, one of the boys called out, probably Mason, having another dinosaur dream. "I'll go," Ethan said. "We'll go together." They walked upstairs hand in hand, to their sons, to their life, to the future they'd almost lost and fought to rebuild. It wasn't perfect. It was real, messy, and beautiful, and earned through mistakes and forgiveness and the willingness to try again. Second chances, Ethan thought as he tucked Mason back in. They really do taste better. And this one was the best thing he'd ever tasted. 6 months later. The wedding was small, just family and close friends in Aunt Marva's garden. Janelle wore a simple white dress. The boys wore matching suits and carried the rings. Margaret cried through the entire ceremony. Aunt Marva officiated with her usual mix of wisdom and sass. "About time you two figured this out," she said, making everyone laugh. "Now kiss and let's eat. I'm hungry." The reception was held at the second course. Good food, better company, dancing under string lights. Mason and Miles were everywhere, too excited to sit still. They'd asked if they could call Ethan Dad now instead of Daddy, because they were big kids, and big kids said Dad. He'd said yes while crying again. They'd documented it with photos again. During the father-son dance, Ethan dancing with both boys at once, stepping on their feet while they giggled, Janelle watched from the side. "You did good," Aunt Marva said, appearing beside her. "We got lucky. Luck had nothing to do with it. You chose to forgive. He chose to change. That's not luck, that's love." She squeezed Janelle's hand. "Your parents would be proud." Janelle's eyes filled. Her parents had died when she was young. Aunt Marva had raised her. "You think so?" "I know so. You built a life, raised good boys, found a man who finally grew up enough to deserve you." She smiled. "That's everything they wanted for you." Later, after the guests left and the boys fell asleep in the back room, Ethan and Janelle stood in their restaurant. "Mrs. Ward," he said. "I'm keeping Brooks professionally," she reminded him. "Brooks Ward personally." "Mrs. Brooks Ward, then." He pulled her close. "How does it feel?" "Right, scary, perfect." She looked up at him. "How does it feel for you?" "Like coming home." They swayed to music that had stopped playing. Outside, the city moved on. People lived their lives, made their choices. Some ran from love, some ran toward it. Ethan and Janelle had done both, but they'd ended up exactly where they were supposed to be, together, with their boys asleep nearby, with a business they'd built from hope and hard work, with a future that looked nothing like Ethan had planned 5 years ago, but everything like what he'd needed all along. "Thank you for waiting," he said, "for believing I could be better, Thank you for proving it. She kissed him softly. Now let's go home. Our boys will wake up wondering where we are. Our boys, he smiled. I'll never get tired of hearing that. Good, because they're ours forever now. All of us. A real family. They locked up the restaurant and drove home through quiet streets. The boys woke up briefly when they were carried inside, mumbled sleepy hellos, and went right back to sleep. Ethan stood in the doorway of their room for a long moment, watching them breathe, watching them dream. His sons, his family, his second chance that he'd almost missed completely. You coming to bed? Janelle called softly from down the hall. Yeah. He touched the doorframe once like a blessing. I'm coming. And he did. Not to an empty apartment in Boston, not to a life half-lived and full of regrets, but to a home filled with love and laughter and the beautiful mess of a life fully lived. To his wife, to his children, to the future they were building together, one day at a time, one choice at a time, one second chance that became forever. The end.